All right, guys. So we left off at us taking a look, or we were trying the last two situations. So number three says 20 girls in the class represented 55% of students in the class. How many students are there in total? So here I use my part equals percent over whole because we already identified those. So here 20 is my part, 55%. Of course, I made that into a decimal. That is my percent. And we don't know the whole because that's what we are trying to figure out. Because only 20 girls in the class represent 55% of the students in the total class. So we need trying to find how many students are there in total. So here, if I know that this is a variable, in order to solve for a variable, I have to undo the equation. This is multiplication. So to do the opposite, I need to divide. So I divide both sides by 0.55. Of course, I did my work to the side, but that gives me 36.36. And that basically tells me that 20 is 55% of 36.36. Number four, here it says that 40% of the students love the museum. If 20 students are on the field trip, which means that that is our total amount, how many students actually love the museum? So here I got 20 as my total because I know that's how many kids that actually went on the field trip. 40% of that, I don't know exactly how much is 40%, but I can figure it out. So here, part, of course, is some number of students, but we don't know how many students specifically. Um, our percentage is 40. So I made that into a decimal. If you would like, you can make that as 40 over 100 and do it that way and still divide by 100 and get the same answer. However, either way, it's up to you. It is your choice. It is your method of learning. Take control. So here, 20 is our whole. Multiply that, 0.40 times 20 is, of course, 8. So 8 students is 40% of the whole 20 students that went on the field trip. So 8 of these students love the museum. All right. So before we end class today, I want to minimize this a little bit. We have this question which we are going to apply part equals percent of an whole. So the bag of candy, let's say for instance, we got a real big bag of Jolly Ranchers. And I know everybody loves Jolly Ranchers because that's our favorite candy, right? So this bag of candy has 300 pieces in it. And 28% of them are red. Of course, we know that red is going to be cherry if they are Jolly Ranchers because they are good. So we're trying to figure out how many exact pieces in this bag of Jolly Ranchers are red. Okay. So first things first, what quantity represents my whole? Well, of course, if I know that I have a whole 300 pieces come into the bag, then 300 will be my whole. What terms would I know is my percent? Of course, my percent. So first thing, make sure that you identify part, percent, and whole. Sorry, this is my key points, guys. I forgot to write that on the side. So make sure in order to solve for these, identify part, percent, and whole, and then plug in your numbers, which are the same thing as my guided questions down here at the bottom. However, plug in your values. And number three, solve for the variable. Simple. So here I know my percentage is 28%, but I know that is also 28 over 100, which is the same thing as 0.28. And I'm trying to figure out what is this part, or I don't know what my part is, so I'm going to make that P. So here, plug in my values, part equals percent of a whole. Is going to be an extra video coming up, so just give me 1 second and click onto the next slide.